Welcome to Elevated Women. I'm Myra Swan Kotze. If you are a woman in senior leadership, an executive carrying the weight of massive responsibility, this space is for you. My clients often call me their secret weapon, not for strategy or tactics, but for managing the silent accumulation of pressure that comes with leading at this level. Here we talk about the one thing most leadership spaces ignore: how that pressure lives in your body. This is where we explore what it really takes to stay in the role you love without your health, your clarity, or your family paying the price. I'm glad to have you here. Hello and welcome back to Elevated Woman. Today we're talking about the myth of the sudden crash. In our last conversation, we looked at the cognitive tax of leadership, why your executive brain begins to flicker when your nervous system is stuck in survival loop. And today I want to talk about the physical dashboard of your body. Most women in senior leadership speak about burnout as if it's a destination that they suddenly arrived at. They describe it like a car that ran perfectly for 100,000 miles and then, one Tuesday morning, suddenly the engine simply fell out onto the pavement. They say things like, I was fine and then I just couldn't get out of bed, or I handled it all and then I just snapped. But as a specialist who looks at the physiology of pressure, I can tell you the body never snaps without warning. Burnout is not a sudden event. It is the final stage of a very long, very loud conversation your body has been trying to have with you for months, even years, and if ignored, it will shut down. The problem is that as an executive woman, you have been professionally trained to ignore the whispers. You've been rewarded for your ability to override your physical needs in favor for the mission, the deadline, and the team. In your world, ignoring your body is often seen as a prerequisite for success. I know I've been there and I've done it for far too long. But there is a massive distinction between managing pressure and absorbing it. When you manage pressure, you use your system to meet a challenge and then discharge that energy. When you absorb pressure, it stays in your tissue, it lives in your fascia, it alters your chemistry. Now, if you're wondering what your fascia actually is, think of it as a sophisticated silver white web or a 3D internal bodysuit that wraps around every single muscle, nerve, and organ in your body. It is the architectural system that holds you together. In a healthy, regulated state, your fascia is fluid and bouncy. It lets your body glide. But when you're under chronic pressure, your fascia does something remarkable. It braces. It acts like a biological suit of armor to protect you from the impact of your stress. The problem is that if you stay in that high-pressure brace for too long, the fascia stops being fluid and starts to harden. It becomes like cling wrap that has been heated up. It shrinks and tightens around your muscles and organs. This is how it alters your chemistry. When that suit of armor stays tight, it acts like a dam in a river. It restricts your blood flow and traps stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline inside of your tissue. You aren't just thinking about work. Your body is physically marinating in the chemistry of the boardroom 24/7. This is why you can't just relax on a Saturday, because your internal bodysuit is still stuck in a defensive, hardened shape. Long before the crash of burnout happens, your body begins flashing warning lights on your dashboard. But because you are so capable and because you are so used to functioning at a high stress level, you've learned to put a piece of black tape over the lights so you don't have to see them. Today I want to help you to take the tape off. I want to show you how to read the signals of overload while there is still time to regulate before the symptoms pulls the emergency brake on you. The first signals of overload are really dramatic. They don't feel like a medical crisis. They simply feel like nuances. I want you to think about your typical Tuesday. Maybe you notice that your eyes feel unusually dry or tired, even if you haven't been staring at a screen any longer than usual. Maybe you notice that you're clearing your throat more often, or that your voice feels thin or strained by the end of the board meeting. Maybe it's a specific spot in your mid-back, right between the shoulder blades, that starts to hum with a dull ache around 3 p.m. In a regulated state, these are minor signals, but in an overloaded state, these are what I call micro-alarms. One of the most common early signals I see in executive women is a change in bilateral tension. Notice, even as you are listening to this, is one shoulder higher than the other? Is your hips slightly twisted to one side as you sit or stand? When the nervous system is under sustained pressure, the body prepares for action. This often manifests as a slight unconscious lean into the future. You are physically bracing for the next task, even if you haven't finished the current one. Then there is the digestive whisper. The gut and the nervous system are connected via the vagus nerve, the information superhighway to the body. When your system is overloaded, your body deprioritizes digestion. You might have noticed a subtle bloating, a change in how you react to foods you've always eaten, or that tight knot in your stomach that you've started thinking is just a permanent part of your anatomy. You tell yourself it's coffee, or I just ate too fast. But as a specialist, I see it differently. That is your nervous system telling you that it no longer feels safe enough to reset and digest. It's staying in production mode, even when you are trying to nourish it. As the accumulation of pressure moves from subtle to significant, the signals change. They move from your muscles and gut into your sensory processing. This is a state of overload that many women find confusing and even a little shameful. Have you ever walked through the front door after a long day and the sound of the television or the dog barking or even the sound of your partner's voice feels intrusive? Like a physical touch that you didn't ask for? Maybe you find yourself becoming irrationally irritated by small things. The hum of the refrigerator, the flickering of a light, the texture of your clothing against your skin. This is not a personality flaw. You aren't becoming a difficult person. What is happening is that your nervous system has reached its stimulation ceiling. When your system is regulated, you have a wide window of tolerance. You can process a lot of noise, a lot of data, and a lot of emotional input without it overwhelming you. But when you have been carrying sustained pressure without recovery, that window begins to close. Your nervous system becomes hypervigilant because it's already carrying so much internal load, it perceives any additional external input as a threat. I remember one of my clients talking about this not too long ago. She's a CEO of a major firm. She told me that she started wearing noise cancellation headphones in her own home because the sound of her children playing felt like glass rubbing against her nerves. She felt like a monster, and it really started bothering her. But she wasn't a monster. She was simply overloaded. Her body was signaling that it had no more capacity to process input. It was desperately trying to find a zero stimulation environment so it could finally discharge the pressure of the day. If you feel yourself seeking out dark rooms or noise cancellation headphones, or if you find that you're snapping at people that you love over small interruptions, your body isn't telling you that you're a bad leader or a bad mother. It's simply telling you that your nervous system is too full. It's reached overflow, and it's happening in real time. We cannot talk about overload without talking about the 3 a.m. wake-up call. And yes, I know we spoke about this in episode 1. But I want to explain the why behind it. When you are in a state of sustained pressure, your body maintains a high baseline of cortisol, the alertness hormone. Normally, cortisol should be high in the morning to wake you up and low at night to let you sleep. But when you are wired and tired, your cortisol rhythm flattens. You stay alert all night long. You might fall asleep from pure exhaustion, what I call the collapse sleep. And around 3 a.m., your body does a routine check of its environment. In a regulated body, you'll just roll over and go back to sleep. But in an overloaded body, that cortisol spike hits and your brain immediately hooks into a problem. You wake up and within 10 seconds you are thinking about the Q3 projections or that awkward moment in the hallway with a colleague. This isn't insomnia. This is your nervous system performing a survival scan because it doesn't feel safe. It wakes you up to make sure that you are ready to handle the predator, which in many cases is probably your inbox. If this is happening more than twice a week, your body is no longer handling the pressure. It's being dominated by it. This is a critical warning light. It's the body saying we are running out of fuel and we aren't allowed to refuel. So what do we do with these signals? The traditional executive approach is to fix the symptoms. And many medical doctors will tell you the same thing. Let's fix it. You take magnesium supplements for the sleep. You get a massage for the shoulders. You take an anti-acid for the gut. And while those things might offer temporary relief, they are like putting a bandage over a warning light. They don't solve the underlying regulatory failure. As a specialist, my goal isn't to help you tolerate more symptoms. My goal is to help you build a nervous system that doesn't need to send those signals in the first place. I want to invite you right now to do a somatic scan with me. Start at your feet and move up to your head. Do it slowly. Let's do it slowly together. Start at your feet. Move up your calves and your top legs into your butt and into your womb and stomach area. Go into your chest where your lungs and your heart is. Move up into your shoulders and your neck and right into the head. Where is that hum? Where is the tension that you've started to call normal? How is your breath moving? Is it staying in your chest or can it reach your belly? These signals are your allies. They are the check engine lights that saves the car. If you can learn to listen to them when they are whispering, you will never have to hear them scream. In our next final episode of this foundation series, we are going to talk about the age 50 shift. We're going to look at why so many women reaches this decade and suddenly feel like they can't do it anymore, and why that realization is actually the beginning of your greatest season of leadership, if you know how to handle the biology of it. Thank you for being here with me. I'll see you in the next episode. If something in this conversation resonated with you, and you're a woman in senior leadership who recognizes the impact sustained pressure may be having on your body, I invite you to learn more about my private work at myraswankotze.com. I work with a small number of executive women who want to stabilize their nervous system, protect their health, and continue leading without their body quietly carrying the cost. I also invite you to follow the podcast so that we can continue this journey together. It ensures each new episode is waiting for you whenever you are ready to tune back into your body. Thank you for being here. I'll see you on the next episode.